Hey, welcome back guys. Bit of a different subject matter today. I wanted to go on a sort of deep dive into how much a performance car like a BMW M4 is going to cost you in real world terms. I've seen a whole bunch of reviews on cars like this. You know, they'll give you the exhaust sounds, they'll give you all the specs about the power, the engine, 0 to 60, all that. So if you want any of that, there's plenty of videos out there that will give you that. But as usual on this channel, I want to give some like real world feedback for people that are actually earning money and want to kind of know where it's going when they buy something like this. So I bought this a couple of months ago. I traded in a Range Rover that I had, and I just wanted something that was going to be really enjoyable, because soon we're going to have like, the whole thing's going to go kind of eco. We're not going to have these kind of cars maybe in the future. So I thought, well, maybe my last chance to get something really exciting. So I went for the M4 Competition X-Drive. That's a pretty powerful motor. It's a V6 turbo. I think it's a twin turbo, putting out about 530 odd brake horsepower. Way more power than I can actually comfortably use, which is kind of nice. I like having a bit of extra in the tank and not actually being able to use it or need to use it. But this thing is ridiculous. You know, it'll do a 0 to 60 in like 2.8. I've seen people do it in. So way more of a car than I am a driver, let's put it that way. But what I want to really talk about is how much something like this is going to cost you. Obviously you've got the price of the car, we all know that, but people can go and get a car on PCP, whatever, and they often kind of don't think about the other parts of the equation. So for a start, you've got insurance. This was actually less to insure than my Range Rover. You probably won't be that surprised to hear that. Range Rovers are expensive because they keep being stolen. Even though this is a desirable car, they're a lot less desirable to thieves currently than the Range Rovers and the other really high performance SUVs. And also because Range Rovers were a little bit easier to nick. So this I'm paying about 900. I was paying about 980 on the Range Rover for the year. So yes, it's expensive to insure. If I compare it to like if I had a Fiesta or something, I'd be paying about 250 quid. But for this, you know, I think that's reasonable. It's under £1,000 a year. I haven't got any serious problems about that. The first thing obviously that I found that cost a lot of money was when you buy an expensive car now, if you buy it new, and I bought this new, you're going to be hit with the tax straight away in the showroom. That's a new car tax that everyone's going to get hammered with. So that was several £1,000s. You've already got to, you know, register that on top of the price of the vehicle when you're buying it. Again, that can be spread over your PCP or whatever. So a lot of people are just going to do that and not worry too much about it. But it's something to consider. Road tax is not too bad. It's about the same as I was paying on the Range Rover. For the first 5 years you pay an uprated figure. I'll chuck the figure up on the video, and then after 5 years it drops down to a more reasonable figure. They know that a lot of people aren't going to keep these types of cars for longer than 3 years. They're going to have it for 3 years, then they're going to kind of trade it in when their PCP agreement comes to an end, and they're going to go and get a different car and do it all over again. So you're just going to keep paying that higher road tax bracket. You know, that they already know that. Most people don't now buy cars and just keep them till the end of their life anymore. The parts for this car and the servicing I actually thought was not too bad. The servicing schedule is just like it would be for a normal car. You know, there's no like special stuff that you've got to do. It's not like owning a Ferrari or something where you have to take it in God knows how many times. They're very reliable, so I've read, so I've been told, you know, and I've also got the warranty, the full warranty from BMW. But these are reliable cars. BMW are known to build reliable motors, and the servicing costs really aren't that much more than I was paying on a Range Rover. I got a discount of about 30% on the servicing by buying it from the garage that I bought the car off, and I kind of did it up front. So I said, I want this service for the next 3 years with you, give me a price on it so I don't have to worry. They send me reminders. I get like a 30% discount on all the servicing, and that works for me because they're my nearest garage. If you're going to move house, obviously that's something to consider. When I did that with Range Rover, I did exactly the same thing. I did actually break that plan part way through, and there was no charge for that. They were absolutely great about it. I just stopped doing the service plan, and then I moved on, got a different car, and no problem. You know, I just stopped paying for the service plan basically. So just have a look at the small print on your service plan and make sure that they're not going to hold you to that 3 years. And if you kind of have to move house or you have to change your car or something like that, that you're not going to get stuck with them. Now, the things that people are really interested in, like the fuel consumption. So this is like something, you know, everyone down the pub has got some mate that says something about fuel consumption on these type of cars. I've heard it all before. Oh, you don't want to get one of them, you know, you'll only get 5 miles to the gallon or some like ridiculous crap. So it's got different modes on here. If you set this car in its like easiest mode, the sort of comfort mode they call it, then I get between 30 and 35 miles per gallon. If I'm doing like a motorway trip and I'm really easy on the accelerator, I've even seen it go up to 37. So if you were really careful, you could run it up to even 37 miles per gallon. But I'm getting generally between 30 to 33 miles per gallon for running around, being very, very careful. And I did that just for about 2 or 3 weeks to see how it went. When I first got the car, it has like a breaking in period where you're supposed to kind of be a bit chilled. You have to bring it in for like a service at 1,500 miles. That's the only extra service these things have. Basically, they put a thicker oil in the vehicle when they first run them in, and after that 1,500 miles, they then put the standard oil in there, which is a higher viscosity, and it sort of frees the engine up a little, becomes a bit more lively. Apparently, like I say, I haven't noticed, I'm not a good enough driver to notice stuff like that. But fuel consumption hasn't really changed since I've done that. Now, I have booted it about a bit. Obviously, you've got a car like this, you want to kind of see what it can do. So I've put my foot down and I've, you know, been sensible. I'm not talking about like going 150 on the roads or anything like that. This thing absolutely eats the tarmac up. But if you do that, I'm getting down to about between 20 and 25 miles per gallon. So it's still not outrageous. If you're running something like a V8 Land Rover, then you're going to get a lot less than that. So, you know, this is pretty aerodynamic. It's still quite reasonable, so you can have some fun with it. You're not going to get absolutely rinsed on the fuel. Fuel's expensive. Obviously, if you're on a serious budget, then that's not something you're going to want to do, and you're probably not going to buy one of these cars if you're on a serious budget, because nothing about this sort of car is going to be dirt cheap. Other than that, I can't really think of any other added costs. You've got your consumables like tyres. They're not going to be cheap. They're probably about £270 a corner. I think it runs the Michelin Pilot S tyres, the sports. They're not cheap, the £270 a corner. But then when I had an ST Fiesta, they were £250 a corner. A lot of these cars, even the cheaper performance cars now, have really, really good tyres on, and they're all in that kind of £200 to £300 price bracket. What I can say is they're amazing tyres. Like, this thing just sticks like glue, so it's definitely worth having some decent tyres on there. Don't cheap out on those and get some like crappy remolds or something, because you're going to end up coming off on a bend, you know, and that's going to cost you a lot of money and insurance premium. So you don't want to do stuff like that. If you're having to cheap out on those basic necessities in order to buy a vehicle, like I've heard people say, oh, I wouldn't take it to BMW to service it, I'm going to do it myself, or I've got a bloke down the road who kind of knows what he's doing. If you have to do that budget wise, you've picked the wrong vehicle. You probably need to buy a cheaper vehicle, because this sort of stuff really needs to be taken to a specialist. You know, if you've got the BMW guys, you bought it off and they're a specialist BMW dealership that do these high performance cars, then they're going to know what they're doing. If anything goes wrong, the warranty's with them. You know, you've got that peace of mind. And I found the guys to be really decent at the place I bought it off, which was Listers. They've been great, you know, can't say anything better about them. We also bought the missus, the car behind, that's the 220. She's super happy with that. It's just a standard 220i. She really liked the kind of M2 look, but she's quite new to driving, so she didn't want the insurance costs. She didn't want like the crazy performance. She just liked the look of the car. She loved the purple colour. They have one of those. Now, to put it into context, when she drives that sensibly, which she does most of the time, she actually gets about 52 miles per gallon out of that. That's a 2 litre petrol, so that's really good as well, and that's plenty lively. I think it's 0 to 60 in about 6 point something seconds, so it's more than enough for her. You know, it's more car than she needs. She doesn't even put it in sport very often, maybe to overtake someone, but most of the time she's just driving that round in comfort mode. Guys, I hope that gave you some like real world data on how much this sort of stuff's going to cost, whether it's something that you want to get into or not. Like I said, we've only got a few years left before these kind of cars are relics. You're not going to be able to buy them new anymore. You know, everything's going to be electric and whatever. Not my favourite thing. I don't actually believe that's going to save the planet at all. You know, going to electric cars, half the time we're still using the same old energy from the same old sources. In fact, we're just buying it from other countries. Most of those other countries don't give a damn about the environment, so we're actually lining the pockets of countries that are happy to pollute, and then we're driving around in cars that aren't much fun, you know, that look awful. Frankly, I've not seen many electric cars that actually get my blood going. You know, one of the great things about this in terms of expenditure, I wanted a car that when I got out of bed and looked out the window in the morning, I thought, yes, mate, that is an awesome freaking car. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get in it. I want to go somewhere. I want to do something cool with that car. I want to just go and drive it for no apparent reason at all. I don't think I would ever have that looking out the window at a Tesla. I don't think I would ever have that at any electric car. I can't imagine looking out the window and thinking, damn, you know, that looks sexy as hell. Most of them look like a kind of inflatable box on wheels driven by pensioners. So not my cup of tea at all. Let me know in the comments if you've got a car like this, you know, how much it costs you, real world data. It's going to be really interesting for people, because most people have heard all this nonsense from other, you know, people that don't actually own one of these cars. They just heard it from someone else who heard it from someone else. So as much data from actual car owners is good in the comments. Let me know what you think of the M4, if you've got one, if you've had one, if you think they're not good for whatever reason. I'll be interested to hear your points of view. Thanks for watching, take care, catch you next time.